Let me know when you want me to get started. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Erin May Quaid. I represent Apple Valley, Roseland, and Eagan. And I am here today because in Minnesota, we welcome innovation, but we don't throw our communities and public safety under the bus for corporate profits. This year, the legislature has two versions of what future autonomous vehicles could look like. On one hand, we could hand over the keys to a massive corporation with few to no guardrails. And on the other, a bill authored by myself and Representative Spencer-Murrah, we can make sure Minnesotans have a say in how companies like Waymo affect our streets and our economies. The bill that Waymo's lawyers wrote to let Waymo certify its own safety with no way to take a car off the street if it hurts someone, damages property, or breaks laws in Minnesota is not good. I refuse to accept an autonomous car that can commit crimes with no accountability. When someone does get hurt, and they will, because it has happened in other states, we need a clear path to hold corporations accountable for the way they design and operate their technology. Our legislation would establish an independent advisory board and require a comprehensive study so we can evaluate what autonomous vehicle deployment would actually mean for our state, not just in theory, but in practice. Second, more than 100,000 Minnesotans have professional driving jobs. This could be truck drivers, delivery drivers, rideshare, or couriers. And they are sounding the alarm for their industry. The companies pushing this technology want us to think these are fully autonomous vehicles, and they're not. Waymo's executives have told Congress that they have workers, some in other countries, who make driving decisions when the algorithm fails. So there are people who may or may not be in the U.S., who may or may not have U.S.-based driver's licenses, operating cars that are supposed to be self-driving. We cannot let this unregulated industry turn into an unregulated monopoly that puts tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans out of work with no plan for the future. Our bill requires an independent economic analysis so we can understand and plan for the ripple effects on families, small businesses, and local economies. This is not about whether the technology will advance or not. It's about how we guide those advancements so peoples, workers, children, and families aren't casualties in the name of progress. Our bill ensures that innovation works for Minnesotans, for our safety, for their responsibility, and that they have accountability from day one.
Hello, my name is Abdikani Ali, and I'm here, and I have been rideshare driver for 7 years, and I'm here today as a part of the SIU local 26 rideshare drivers organization committee. I'm here today because we have been fighting to make rideshares good jobs, but now we hear about Waymo coming in and try to take us backward. Not only do we not have these cars are safe, how can they do what we do? We talk to the passengers, helping them out if they have a questions, make sure people are safe. Robot cars cannot do any of that. If there is a snow or other weather issue we're facing here in Minnesota, will these cars be safe? I can't believe some people are wanting to let these cars out, even study that it would be mean, or are they safe? Would they hurt workers? What would happen? I'm glad the politicians here today are taking this issue seriously, and I actually think it through this issue. We have been working hard from our union and make rideshare job good so that we can make sure we have excellent drivers to get people safe from their destination. That means raising pay and drivers have a voice on this job so we can do our job. These big companies are just trying to make more money, and they don't care about any of us. As drivers, I want our street to be safe, and I want people doing work here, the state, to be able to take care of our families rushing out these robot cars will put both of those things at risk. Hopefully, bill can be passed that takes this issue seriously and put Minnesota first, not big tech companies. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. My name is Hannah Alstead. I'm the political director for the Teamsters Joint Council 32, representing 80,000 active and retired members across Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. I also serve on the Minnesota Council for Connected and Automated Vehicles, where I've spent nearly 2 years working through the policy and safety implications of automation on our roads. This is not just about Waymo or passenger vehicles. The industry bill, House File 3513, being heard this week, creates a pathway for fully driverless vehicles of any class, weight, or size, including commercial trucks, snowplows, and buses. If that bill becomes law, a trucking company could simply assert that it has the technology to operate safely on Minnesota roads without a driver. And because this bill proposes virtually no meaningful regulatory oversight, it would be the companies themselves who determine and self-certify that they're safe. That should concern every Minnesotan. We are talking about 80,000-pound commercial vehicles operating with no human behind the wheel. That raises serious questions about accountability, crash response, system failures, and public confidence. Let me be clear, the Teamsters are not opposed to technology. We support thoughtful innovation, but innovation must come with rigorous testing, transparent reporting, enforceable safety standards, and clear protocols for first responders. House File 3513 does not meet that bar. Senator May Quaid and Representative Spencer-Mera's bill gives us a chance to have more voices at the table who have been left out of this conversation. On behalf of the Teamsters Union and tens of thousands of Minnesotans who drive trucks every day, we urge the House Transportation Committee to reject this bill and support a process that includes the missing pieces. We cannot sell out public safety and middle-class jobs for tech company profits. Minnesota can lead on innovation, but we must do it responsibly with safety first. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bethany Winkles, and I am the Secretary-Treasurer of the Minnesota AFL-CIO. As the state's labor federation, we believe technology should benefit working people, not be left to private companies to regulate themselves. That's exactly why autonomous vehicle companies like Waymo should not be allowed to regulate themselves in Minnesota, and why the labor movement's principles for worker-centered AI make clear that strong standards and government oversight are essential. Our framework demands that workers' rights and collective bargaining be strengthened in face of new technology. Letting corporate tech actors set their own rules undermines collective power and eliminates meaningful negotiation on job impacts, safety standards, or workforce transitions. Our unions understand that when technologies change work, workers deserve a seat at the table, not corporate autocracy. Workers must be protected from harmful uses of AI. Autonomous systems, like those controlling fleets of vehicles, can disrupt jobs, de-skill work, or be used for invasive surveillance if unchecked. These systems should not be deployed without guardrails that prevent exploitation, protect worker data, and ensure humans remain in control of decisions that affect safety and livelihoods. We call for transparency and accountability in every use of AI, from design to deployment. Black box algorithms making life and death decisions about public roads or jobs cannot be left to private actors without meaningful public scrutiny. Workers and the public have the right to full disclosure about how these systems are trained, tested, and updated. Workers are the experts on how to do their jobs well and safely. Their expertise must inform how autonomous technologies are built and tested. We must institutionalize worker voice within AI research and deployment. Finally, AI must never be deployed in ways that harm civic rights or civil rights, undermine democratic integrity, or entrench inequality. Letting private corporations set their own standards invites discrimination, evasion of accountability, and a future where tech profits come at the expense of working families. For Minnesota, the choice is clear. We should not hand the keys to corporate self-regulation. Instead, we should follow worker-centered principles and insist on comprehensive oversight, transparency, and accountability before allowing autonomous vehicles on our roads. That's how we protect jobs, safety, and the public interest, not just corporate bottom lines. We have seen time and again the tech industry be the Wild West, with lack of regulation harming our children, harming our families, and being left to make huge profits for billionaires that exist in parts of the world that have no interest in Minnesota. We demand that when it comes to AI, workers be put first.
I knew the opera was going to start right as I got up to speak. Did I wait? Or?
Can you all hear?
Okay, we can all just enjoy it for a second. It's beautiful. Okay. We'll see. We'll give it like 1 minute, and then if they're still going, I'll just try to talk over. Okay. I mean, this is a typical day, right? Lots of different issues converging. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna go. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Samantha Sensamura, State Rep for District 63A in South Minneapolis and member of the House Transportation Committee. I'm proud to carry this legislation along with Senator May Quade that applies common sense to a rapidly developing technology that could fundamentally change how transportation works in Minnesota. We are increasingly being asked to accept the highly controversial arrival of commercial autonomous vehicles as inevitable, but important questions remain unanswered. Who will benefit from this technology and who will carry the risks? Before we allow large autonomous vehicle companies to operate freely and generate profit using Minnesota's public infrastructure, we owe Minnesotans clear answers. You will hear bills this week in the House saying we should just let these vehicles and these companies run freely and just have industry regulate itself. But we believe that Minnesotans simply want some common sense steps to ensure the safety and security of our state. Minnesota has always embraced innovation, but innovation must come with transparency, accountability, and most importantly, public participation. This legislation creates a structured process to study the impacts of commercial autonomous vehicles through independent research and public hearings, ensuring that decisions about our roads are made by Minnesotans and not dictated solely by private companies. Today, rideshare drivers and commercial drivers are an essential part of our transportation network. They help people get to work, access health care, and move safely throughout our communities. Introducing autonomous fleets without understanding the economic consequences could have serious ripple effects, not only for workers, but for small businesses, local economies, and state tax revenues. This bill ensures we carefully examine those impacts and consider pathways forward before disruption occurs. Safety and accountability are also central to this effort. This legislation requires independent evaluation, establishes a permit process for operators, and ensures a human safety operator remains present while we assess real-world performance. This bill also addresses algorithmic management, recognizing that software updates can change how vehicles interact with pedestrians, cyclists, and other drivers. Minnesotans deserve to know who is responsible when technology makes decisions on public roads. Other states have moved quickly and are now dealing with challenges after deployment. We have a chance here in Minnesota to lead differently by studying first, listening to the public, and setting clear guardrails before commercialization begins. Ultimately, this bill just asks a straightforward question. Before we experiment with a technology that affects safety, jobs, and public infrastructure, can't we just first understand its consequences? We have seen time and time again that big tech will run the table on us if we do not use the power we have to protect Minnesota workers, consumers, and communities. This legislation ensures that we can move forward carefully, responsibly, and with the best interest of all Minnesotans. Thank you, and now we will take some questions. Yeah, and I would say, frankly, the process right now is unclear, and I think our statutes are outdated, and our statutes were written at a different time, right? I will say, as a legislator from Minneapolis, I was pretty alarmed to wake up on December 1st with just an email from Waymo that said, Waymo's in Minneapolis, and I can tell you that also a lot of my constituents and residents were kind of similarly like, this technology can just come here, they're just on our streets. You know, right now, all Waymo vehicles are operating, you know, with someone in the car who can take over. And they are doing something called mapping, which is where they kind of are trying to learn the terrain. I think this is part of their process. But I think it is unclear right now whether or not they could start operating autonomously without a change in legislation. I think it is unclear, and I think, frankly, it opens up a lot of potential gray area in the law that could lead to lawsuits. You know, I think we have heard from Waymo that they don't feel comfortable with the language as is to start operating autonomously. I don't know that we can take them at their word for that, and so I certainly feel a lot of pressure this session to make sure that we pass something that ensures these vehicles don't just start operating on our roads autonomously without any guardrails in place.
Does have driverless cars here, or are you not willing to commit to that until there's a study?
You know, I'll say that I'm weighing some important things, right? I sit on the Transportation Committee. We have just had weeks of hearings that talk about the damage that is done to our infrastructure, to lives from people driving badly. I think there's a lot of research evidence that shows us that there could be a safer way for people to be on the road. We've heard about people watching movies while they're driving, people who are excessive speeding, people drinking and driving. So I think that there's reason to look into this technology, but I certainly don't feel comfortable having autonomous vehicles on our road until we have studied this more, and I don't think we can take industry at its word.
So what I can say is that in the Senate, I do a lot of work trying to regulate big tech, AI, and that work has been and will continue to be bipartisan. This bill is very, very new, and so we'll have to get co-sponsors. But the work to keep Minnesotans safe from big tech and AI, that does span political party, both outside the legislature and in the legislature, and that's true across the country as well, and I expect it will be that way for this bill.
Yeah, so I'm chair of the Minneapolis delegation in the House. I talk a lot with our city council members. I know that this is an issue that they are also very concerned about and are asking us to look into this session and take action on. I will tell you that tomorrow we're going to be having a lengthy discussion in the House Transportation Committee about the preemption that is currently in the bill of local municipalities to be able to regulate this for themselves. I know that Minneapolis is really interested in having a similar permitting process to what they do with rideshare drivers to make sure that if these vehicles are operating on our roads, that they meet the safety and business standards of the city. So I think this is also certainly an issue about local control, and I think local municipalities should have some skin in the game for who is driving on their roads.
Well, I think if we look to the past to see how big tech has operated in gray spaces or places where law hasn't been specific, we have seen unchecked behavior that brings a lot of harm to people. So we could have, autonomous vehicles or people operating autonomous vehicles in other countries who are not licensed to drive on the roads. We could see cars committing crimes or breaking the law with no one to ticket, no one to hold accountable. We could see car crashes. We don't know if these systems are designed to handle Minnesota's weather, whether that's tornadoes, whether that's snow or sleet. We've seen in other states that they don't always recognize a person or an animal. We have a lot of factors that need to go into to rolling this out in the state of Minnesota, and absent our action, it'll just happen pretty much against our will, like has happened with so much tech throughout the country and throughout the world. And I think if we could go back in time and look at new tech being rolled out and get ahead of it, we should have. This is one of those opportunities that we have now.
As Senator McQuaid alluded to, we are one of the first cold weather states that Waymo is coming to. And I think we all know, I experience this every year, kind of our first icy day out on the roads. I feel like I'm learning to drive again, right? Because the way that you have to drive on an icy road is different than the way that you drive in a Minnesota summer. And so I think that there's some data we need to look at that's really specific to our state and our climate. I have not. I will say I was in San Francisco over the holiday, and I was excited to, try one because I was there and I knew this legislation was coming, and I was, deciding between a Waymo or a Lyft, a rideshare, and it was going to be $30 more for the Waymo, so I decided against it, right? And I think that is something we really need to look at when these kind of technologies are coming here. Right now, our rideshare drivers deliver people to where they need to